Okay, we'll get stuck in. Thank you everybody for joining us. My name is Lee and I'm from Adrolo. I've been with Adrolo for a little over a year now, and I've got a background in working with this mathematics textbook, and I'm thrilled to be here today to talk to you a little bit about this Year 7 maths resource. So we're going to go through a number of things today. I would love to hear where you're calling in from, so please do feel free to jump into the chat box and say hi and let us know what school you're calling in from and how you're going so far with your Year 7 maths trial. Today we are going to cover a couple of things. We're going to look through what's in the textbook. We're going to go through what is in your online account, and we're going to go through how to get your students and yourself set up for success. We'll also be sharing some key learnings, tips, tricks, examples from other teachers who have been using this resource already. Now, you should already have your books. I don't know if that's coming up on the screen for you now, but if you haven't already got your books, please do feel free to jump into the chat box and let me know, or follow up with your Adrolo coordinator. You should have somebody from the Adrolo team. Perhaps you've received an email about this webinar from them. You can apply to them and they can hunt down those textbooks if you haven't yet received them, or just jump into the chat box and let me know. Now, this should only take about 25 minutes or so today. We'll have some time for Q&A at the end, but please also, if you've got questions throughout, feel free to drop them into the chat box and I can get to them at the end of the session. I will let you know as well, unfortunately, I do have a little bit of a cough today, so if I have to mute for a moment, I'll just be having a sip of water and I will be right back. But thank you for your understanding with that. So as you might know, Adrolo partners with over 1,100 schools to improve education. We're currently supporting over 250,000 students right across the country with their learning. Our textbooks and online resources are designed to boost student engagement and achievement. So this means that we get to speak with a lot of teachers and school leaders about key trends and challenges in both teaching and learning and the kind of support that they need. And we've built this great Year 7 resource with all of these learnings in mind. Our resource is built completely in-house, and I'm going to take you through a couple of the main things in it. With all of the challenges that we hear speaking to our Year 7 teachers and HODs and school leaders that we're connected with, we've heard the challenges, we've heard the sort of things that you're facing in a Year 7 classroom, and we've built this to really address those challenges. So as I mentioned, we've built it completely in-house. We've got a passionate team of maths teachers who are thinking about this and working on this full-time. They're pulling together all of their experience, all of their skills and insights into the challenges that they've faced in a Year 7 classroom to create a resource that really supports you and your student. My apologies, there's that cough I was talking about. So this resource is really built to support a deep conceptual understanding of the maths, not just the rote learning of rules, which are easy to forget in an exam or a real life situation. One more. Thank you for your patience with that. As I mentioned, the rote learning of rules can mean that you often forget, or you might forget those things in a stressful situation like an exam. So you have the use of visual models throughout the resource to help students find a way into the maths, and we develop understanding in a scaffolded way, rather than jumping straight into fluency and hoping that students can fill in the gaps. We then support students to stay engaged in learning, and we give them the ability to help themselves when they get stuck rather than giving up. This helps build confidence and independent learning. The resource includes detailed solutions to make the thinking visible and helps build maths vocab, while exposure to different question types, give students the skills to translate worded problems into the maths that they've already learned. Now, we also know that students enter Year 7 with a wide range of abilities. We've heard from teachers that sometimes you've got students in your class ranging from, primary levels right up to a Year 10 level of understanding. So we have to deliberately cater to that so that teachers can support every student in your class without having to spend hours creating your own resources. So we'll cover everything that you need, and you'll see that we've got everything that you would expect from a traditional textbook resource. So some of what you will see might look similar to what's in your current textbook or other resources that you've used in the past, but some elements will be very different to support those 3 points that I've just discussed. So what is in the textbook itself? Well, you'll notice that each chapter follows a similar pathway. It begins with theory, which is very concise, covering what the students need to know and broken down into learning intentions. This is then followed up with listing the common misconceptions that come up with that particular topic to guide students away from making those common mistakes. We also have detailed worked examples in each chapter. And I'll just view one more. Thank you for your patience with my cough breaks. I'm sure I'm not the only one on the call who has had a bit of a cough lately. I've got some honey water here though, which is helping me get through. So the key thing here is the use of these engaging visual models that are throughout the theory, the worked examples and the solutions. Now we know that teachers, you're already doing an excellent job in classrooms with the use of these kind of visual models. We know that you're projecting them on the board and using tactile learning and getting students engaged with this visual way of learning. So we've built this into the resource so that your students are getting the benefit from them when they're working from home as well. Now, there are at least 2 visual models for each concept. So if a student is struggling to grasp the concept, it really provides them with another way in. And for students coming in with a higher maths ability, it forces them to go back to the fundamentals and to understand maths in different ways. So then the chapter, after working through that, we'll move into the understanding worksheet. And if you've got your book open in front of you and you're following along, you'll see that when you get past that theory and misconception information, you then land on this beautiful understanding worksheet. So the aim here is to get students started at a level that is accessible to a wide range of abilities, at times back to a year 5 level. So building that confidence from the very beginning so that they can access the maths and see early success. They're also designed to be quite fun. So in the trials that we've had so far, we've seen students getting to these understanding worksheets, they're picking up their pens and they're really just starting to get stuck in. We've also got differentiation built in throughout. So how do you like your maths? Do you like it mild, medium, or spicy? The differentiated fluency worksheets are designed to scaffold students up to the media questions. So once students have completed the understanding worksheet that we've just spoken about, they arrive here at fluency with a much stronger conceptual understanding. In early trials, we've seen that students arrive here and they're already, because they've worked through the understanding worksheet, they're already feeling comfortable with the concepts. They've already got their pens in their hands and they get here and they just keep going, which is what we love to see. The reasoning and the problem solving questions involve language that is also very research-based and intentional. We believe that PISA and NAPLAN are a great approximation of the maths vocabulary and literacy that students need to know. So we have used these words throughout. And we use them in different contexts, I should say, as well. For example, you'll see the word altogether coming up in an addition and a subtraction context. Now, these questions are also intentionally very real world based, helping students to understand how the concepts they learn in a mathematics classroom show up in the real world. We've also got an extra spicy question set in each chapter. Now, these are Australian maths competition level style of questioning, and they're designed to extend your top students. Plus, they are a great tool for differentiation. I'm just going to have a bit of a cough and a sip, and I'll be right. Thank you again for your patience. So as I mentioned, the extra spicy questions that are an Australian maths competition level. Now, there's also a remember this function at the end of each chapter. Now, these are questions that tie the current chapter in with previous content included in earlier year levels so that students can see how concepts are built on one another. We know that the distributed practice is a much more effective tool for revision than cramming. So by doing it this way, we can build that distributed practice into your regular lessons. There's also a detailed solution for every single question. So instead of turning to the back of the book and seeing that the answer for this question is 6, for example, and the student maybe having arrived at a completely different answer and not really knowing what they did wrong or how to get to the correct answer, we provide support every step of the way. So as you can see, we use those visual models that the student is already used to aid understanding and line by line working to make thinking visible. This supports independent learning, which ensures that students don't get stuck or don't give up. And it also lowers the reliance on you as the teacher to step out the process individually for every student who might need support. And don't forget, this is all supported by online video solutions as well. If there's any questions so far on the textbook side of things, please do feel free to pop them into the chat box. Otherwise, we're going to jump in now and have a look at what is online. So I'm going to show you through the online platform, and what we have online supports everything that is in your workbook. So everything is mapped in the workbook to the online resource. Video theory, questions to check for understanding, more in-depth chapter review questions, detailed solution videos, and all of the data that you can imagine to see how your students are progressing. So I have logged in as a anonymous account here. So I'm going to show you through a couple of things. It might look slightly different to what you're used to, and if so, that will be why. So I'm going to show you to start with, when you log in, and if you have got your logins, please feel free to jump on and play along from home so we can go through this together. You'll notice when you're in your Year 7 mathematics course that you've got up the top here course materials. There's a lot of great things in here. So if you jump in here, two things I really want to draw your attention to is that you've got the PDFs of both of the books in here. This can be great for a whole range of reasons. So if you're ever needing a soft copy of those beautiful textbooks that you've got, you find them in here in your course materials. We've also got for you a unit plan. We've got this split out into the Oz curriculum, New South Wales and Victorian curriculum, so that you can work with the curriculum, I should say, in the syllabus that you're working with. I'm just going to show you what that looks like. So when you click on this, it'll download for you. And here's one I prepared earlier. It will download for you this beautiful Word document, which steps out everything involved in that unit. Now, some of the teachers that I work with tell me that this is one of their favorite things. They can come here, they can cut, copy, paste, do whatever they want, edit this as much as you like. This is yours, it's editable. And I've had teachers tell me that this can save them a lot of time when it comes to lesson planning. Now, just a reminder, that's where you go to find that here into course materials. Now, I want to show you through one of the videos. So we're just going to jump into this first one.
Hello.
And now all of our videos follow this similar kind of format. So our teacher presenter takes students through the concepts covered in the lesson, describing the concept, going through worked examples, and calling out misconceptions. And again, all of this is used with the support of visual models. My apologies. These video lessons can be used in class for students who are ready to move ahead, or when the maths teacher is away, or if you're covering a class for another maths teacher, perhaps there's a range of opportunities to use these. And they're also used by students who are wanting to fill in their gaps of their knowledge before an assessment task, or when they need a little bit of extra support. And I'm just going to press play on this and have a quick sip of water, and I'll be right back with you.
We are going to do 1A, relational. In order to do this chapter, we've got to know about the equal sign.
Thank you again for your patience.
The equal sign.
Now, just a few things I want to show you from this video. You can speed up down here. Now, this can be great for you as the teacher or for students.
It means things are equal or the same.
Who are wanting to just review a few things. You can also bookmark this chunk. So for you as the teacher, if you're having a look at this and you think this will be great to cover in week 8, you can leave yourself a little message here and you can find it in your bookmarks at that front page. Now, there's a lot in here that you can work through. This is only a very top level session, so I'm not going to bombard you with information, but I do encourage you to come here, click around, have a bit of a play. You can't break it. So do come in, have a click around in a video and start thinking about how this could be of use to your Year 7 classroom. Now, I want to show you as well a class progress grid. So you might remember I was mentioning before data. Now, I know we all love data. We're here talking about mathematics, right? We must have a bit of a feeling about data. So I'm going to click here. So from this front page, you've got this class progress view. Now, this does not have much use completed, as you can see. So I need you to use your imagination for a moment. As I am in this example account, imagine all of your student names are listed down here. So this is everyone in your class. As they begin watching the videos, completing the questions and rating their understanding, this begins to pre-populate. So this gets colored in and you can see how they're progressing, how they're feeling about things and what they're doing. This is a really useful tool. I have a lot of teachers who use this to monitor homework, for example, setting online videos for homework and then using this to show students or to see how the students are going. If you are wanting to use this in class and show your students what you can see, now obviously these names are already anonymous, but you can anonymize names here. So if you have all of your regular student names, so you could have Joe Bloggs here, for example, you'll click on this button over here and it would turn Joe Bloggs into Cultural Clam so that you can show this data grid to your students without naming and shaming. I mean, if you want to name and shame, go right ahead, but just to show you that that is where that lives. Okay, so now I'm going to show you what some of the questions look like. So we're going to jump in here. Let's jump into dividing whole numbers. It's always a fun one. So again, as you can imagine, when your students have completed this, that you'll have all of this color coordinated and filled in. You can jump straight into the questions from here. You can also have a look over to that button at the top there. This breaks down each question for you too. So I'm going to jump into, let's go with a fluency question and have a look at what this looks like. So when you click onto that video, it's going to show you the question and it's going to show you the video solution as well. Now I'm going to play this video solution for you. You'll notice I've sped it up to a little bit quicker so that you'll know the answer, your math teachers, but just to show you the information that your students have access to at their fingertips.
You're going to evaluate using the chunking method, 224 divided by 16. And so I'm going to think to myself, what number can I multiply 16 by that will give me a number close to 224? Because I don't know my 16 times tables, I'm going to multiply this by 10. 10 times 16 is 160. So I'm going to subtract 160 from 224. When I subtract these,
so you can see here just a bit of an example of the level of detail that these video solutions go into. So every question has been turned into a multiple choice question, or multiple choice input, I should say, online. So we have teachers who, for example, get the students to do the working out in their exercise book, and then they can come in and plug their answers into the online system. This means that they get instant feedback and that they can self-mark as well. They can watch the solution video with this teacher taking them through how to unpack the question and stepping them through everything required to complete it. Now we do have one of these video solutions for every single question in the book. Okay, so I'm just going to jump now back into our mathematics class. There's a couple of quick things I want to show you. You'll see at the top here, if you have any students that haven't yet activated, that's going to come up here for you. It's an easy way to get them activated. You'll get your link when you click on that. You can also click into your student names at the top, and this will take you to a student level view. So if you're just wanting to see Joe Blogs, for example, and what Joe Blogs has been engaging in and how they've been going, you'll be able to click on their name from this top menu here and get into a little bit more information on just that specific student. It can be great for parent-teacher or parent-guardian interviews. Okay. Now, I've got a couple of real life examples for you as well. So if you have anything to add, I'm going to share a few here, but if you've been using this already and you've found something that's really working for you in your classroom, please do feel free to pop it into the chat box so we can share the learnings with all of our teachers. In particular, to support differentiation. Now, as I mentioned, we know that Year 7 classrooms have that wide range of abilities. So if this is something that you're struggling with or that you would like a little bit of support with, this resource can help. Here's a few examples of how teachers have been using this to support differentiation. I'm going to leave this here for a moment for you to read through while I just have a quick cough and a that. Thank you once again for your understanding. So yes, to support differentiation, we have a number of ways that this can work. Using pre-test scores, for example, to set question pathways for your students. So diagnosing, do they want to start with mild, medium, or spicy? And don't forget, we've also got that extra spicy one at the end of the chapter. That can be great for if your top ability students have raced through the content and you're wanting them to get engaged with something that's on topic while you spend a bit more time with the rest of your class. Feel free to send them straight through to those extra spicy questions. Now, we also know that there's a lot of content to cover in Year 7 and that we have precious little time with students. So we're trying to jam a lot into these lessons. So here are a few examples of how teachers have been using this resource to help cover all of that content to the depth that you need to in a Year 7 classroom. So relying on the visual models, we hear that a lot comes up, that teachers get a lot of use out of that. I remember you've got the PDF in the course materials when you log in online, I should say. We've got teachers who project that onto the board, keeping students on task and also using them to create homework worksheets. When students are absent, particularly in this time of a lot of student absences, a lot of people are sick at the moment, this can be a great way of keeping them on task when they're unwell or isolating. So it's great to empower students to mark their own work with the support of the built-in solutions. So that helps them understand and comprehensively get that, light bulb moment of the content, enabling them to move on to the next topic. I'll leave these up here for just another moment. And now we know that having a hybrid resource might be fairly new. There's not, you might not have worked with a resource before that has a printed textbook and an online component that work seamlessly with one another, which is what you've got here. So here are some examples of how other teachers have been making the most out of having these two resources that talk completely to one another and completely in line. So using a textbook in class, using online for homework. We work with a number of schools where students don't have their own device, and they make use out of the online component by projecting the videos in class and also allowing time in computer studies classes to get in and get engaged. And as I mentioned before, a great way to do it as well, many of our teachers will have their students work through the worksheet. So you've got a textbook on the desk, they'll have their exercise book open as well to do the working out and come to the answers that they need to, then plugging in the answers that they get into the online platform. Now, remember, when they do that, they get the video solutions, they can really begin to unstick themselves. So if they have hit a barrier, they can have that expert instructor unpacking everything for them without having to rely on you as a teacher to get around to every little human in your classroom to give them that one-on-one attention. Okay, we do have a little bit of time left. If there are any questions, please feel free to pop them into the chat box now. But if not, I do want to remind you as well that we have a number of other webinars coming up this term. Please do feel free to register for those. This webinar has been setting up for success, so giving you the tools that you need to really get started. The webinars we run throughout the term are going to go into a little bit more detail. Up next, we've got data and differentiation in just a couple of weeks. That's really going to dive into those data groups for you and give you some great use cases on how to differentiate for your Year 7 classroom. So to get to those webinars, if you haven't already registered, it'll be in the email that you registered to this webinar from, or head to edrolo.com/Year 7 webinars. Now, we've got no questions coming through, so I want to thank everyone for your time and your patience as I have been coughing and sipping warm water throughout this webinar. It's the world that we live in, and I appreciate your understanding with that. If you have any questions or feedback on this session, please do get in touch. As with this resource that you have, we love getting feedback. We always want to know what you think. We always want you to share ideas with us. So please do get in touch. Don't be shy. We'd love to hear from you. And if there's one piece of advice that I can give you, if you've not really got stuck into the online component yet, just have a play around. There's a wealth of information in there. It is already proving to be hugely beneficial for a lot of the students and teachers that we're working with. You'll find the way for it to work for you. There's many different ways to use this platform. All teachers find a little bit of a different way to make it work for your style of teaching and the specific students that you work with. So jump in, play around. As I said, you can't break it. Have a bit of a play and see what you find and what works for you. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us.